I'm not gonna read these in any particular order. I'm just gonna start with the first on my list and then go down. I'll split up the videos individually as well as I go through the list. So the first one is life is very taxing. Everything in life is taxed. Um, you are taxed in many ways of your health. Your body is taxed. Your time is taxed. You are taxed on all your choices, your investments, especially your choices. For every choice, another door closes. So, say, for example, if you choose to, um, you know, stay inside for the day, then you chose to use 3 hours or 4 hours, depending on how much time you spent inside. You chose to use that time inside instead of being somewhere else or using that time for something else. And in turn, you're not getting that time back. So that's how it usually goes. But it's because of the choice that you made. So that choice closed an opportunity for something else to happen with the time that you chose to make that choice. So this applies to everything. It applies to relationships. It applies to just most things in life. Like for instance, your body. If you start eating junk food and you just you know put whatever in your body, whatever, all the greasy foods and everything. If you don't eat clean, if you don't measure out what you eat, your body will look terrible. If you don't burn what you put into your body from exercise or from just moving your body most of the day, then it will start to get bigger and expand, and your energy levels will decrease, and it's just overall taxing. It becomes taxing towards you. Like then you feel like you have to be accountable for that because you're being taxed on what you put into your body, what you consume. So yeah, everything in life is taxing. You know, when it comes to your health, that's also taxing. What like if you keep your body clean, but if you don't, then you start to stink. You start to grow spores. You start to you know grow pimples. You start to break out. A bunch of things happen to your body. You know when it comes to your health, you start to get unhealthy. Start coughing a lot. If you do substances and other things of that nature. It starts to tax your body. So, taking care of your body, your health are very important. And taking care of what, uh, you know, your relationships are, that's also taxing too. If you give too much in a relationship that's not reciprocated, then you're making the choice of feeding a toxic relationship. And you're going to be taxed on that for how much you pour into the relationship. And that could be very taxing, especially when you're the one giving the most. So I believe that it'll be very stressful. It'll be taxing on your mental health. And it just it also physically too, because it can make you really do things that the other person wouldn't appreciate or would see differently or would just misunderstand, and then that would cause even more mental turmoil for you because you won't understand what you're doing is wrong or what is going wrong with the other person because you claim to do what you think is right, and in the end it's taxing you, and then when they leave, it's also taking a toll on your mental health. So it's taxing, it's taxing. And then like again, relationships, you have to maintain them. If you don't maintain them, then either break away or they don't grow. So they either stop or they don't grow, and that's just how it goes. You're taxed on everything in life, and I just hope that at the end of all of this, like at the end of this video, that you guys understand that you have to be accountable for every choice and every mistake that you make. Because if you don't fix them, then they grow into smaller problems, and it may seem minor at first, it may seem small at first, but after a while, it becomes larger and larger and larger, and it starts to weigh down on you. And I just feel like most people miss that. I know I did when I was younger. So I really didn't think too much about what I was doing, and I was just doing anything. And I thought because of my metabolism, I can just eat whatever, and it wouldn't make me grow or expand. In turn, it did, but I had a high metabolism, so I thought, hey, I'll be fine. But no, I started to get bigger from when I was eating, and I had to change some habits as I grew older. Um, I thought so many things. Like I was using my time wisely. I was playing video games a lot. I was saying, oh yeah, it's just I'm just using my time. I'm just doing what I want, and I feel like that's just what I wanted to do with my time. But as I grew older, I realized that I missed out on opportunities, to further my education because I wanted to do what I wanted to do. I missed opportunities to like do certain clubs or go to certain events because I felt like you know just doing what I wanted to do, and most of the time that was like just indoor stuff. And after a while, I just felt like you know a certain regret because I didn't really use my time, and I was using it on things that didn't really matter to me at the end of the day because those achievements in those video games, and at least in my experience, what it was video games, and those achievements didn't really help me. I woke up in the same bed. I woke up in the same environment, with the same body, with the same lack of knowledge. I just woke up with the same everything. I didn't change even by a small bit because I didn't take a small amount of time even to make an improvement. I was fed things to do within a digital world, which distracted me. So yeah, I really think that that in the long run has taxed me on my youth, and with time that I'm never gonna get back again. I only try to create as I can today and tomorrow and for the future if that ever comes. But yeah, I just want this to you know be known that everything in life is taxing, and that it would be foolish to take it all for granted. You know, it really would be.